Eating meat is such common behaviour amongst humans that it's become an intrinsic part of most cultures' diets. Killing animals for meat is seen as completely normal, and operates on the assumption that, because our ancestors hunted animals, eating meat is both natural and morally justifiable. Its suitability in our world today is rarely questioned. However, the meat industry has recently been put under the spotlight. Greenhouse gas emissions caused by the meat industry's production are estimated to account for around 18% of the global total. This is more than the emissions produced by all transport worldwide. As climate change is such a pressing issue, this has, understandably, kick-started calls for people to adopt a vegetarian diet, and for the meat industry to be abolished. However, requiring people to completely overhaul embedded dietary tastes and routines is an inconceivably mammoth task. In fact, cutting-edge research has found that a total boycott of the meat industry is not only unnecessary, but possibly inadvisable. Contemporary researchers have instead proposed certain strategic changes the meat industry could make, changes that would increase its sustainability. This would protect the industry and keep to a minimum the dietary changes required of the public. This research focuses on the varying impact farming certain species has. Some livestock are more sustainable than others. Beef has been identified as the least sustainable type of livestock. 47% of America's land is being used for food production, and the lion's share of this is used to grow crops in order to feed cattle. Every year, 1 billion tons of grain is produced, enough to feed 3.5 million humans, and yet 70% of this is produced solely to rear cattle. This use of land also means that the beef industry results in a huge loss of CO2 absorbing trees, grasses, and other plants. Over 70% of former forests in the Amazon have been turned over to grazing for beef production. In terms of environmental impact, red meat consumption dwarfs other kinds, using 28 times more land and 11 times more water. To put individual responsibility into perspective, one hamburger uses 7 pounds of grain, 53 gallons of drinking water, and 75 square feet of land. It also releases 14 pounds of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Currently, 50 billion burgers are eaten each year. Another contributing factor is that a single cow can belch up to 500 litres of methane every day. And whilst carbon dioxide is typically painted as the bad boy of greenhouse gases, methane is roughly 30 times more potent as a heat-trapping gas. In light of these facts, it's easy to understand how switching the focus from beef to another meat, such as poultry or pork, is the sustainable choice. If you switch your diet from beef to chicken, you can cut your carbon footprint by as much as 80%. Despite the fact that it sounds more effective, a total abolishment of the meat industry would, in practice, be wasteful. This is because certain land types are only hospitable for growing grasses, to be grazed upon by animals, and are not suited for the growth of arable crops. It would be inadvisable to leave these areas of land unused, rather than let them benefit the meat industry, as the demand for food is predicted to rise by 70% by the year 2050. Efficient food production is crucial. In addition, these areas of grazing land can act as carbon sinks. This means that if pastures are actively managed, they actually store carbon which would otherwise be released into the atmosphere. The meat industry evidently contributes a shocking amount to the acceleration of climate change. However, the research is clear. You can help reduce this significantly by cutting down your intake and being mindful in the type of meat you choose. Simply switching from beef to either poultry, lamb, fish or pork will help make the meat industry become more sustainable and, in turn, protect it.